Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back to Dynamic Alignment Bodywork, and happy summer solstice, the longest day of the year, from my office in Seattle. Today I want to go through a few things with you that you can do at your office or desk, wherever you're at right now, to improve the relationship of your shoulder, girdle, and neck. And I mean, what that really means is that pretty ubiquitous in our culture feeling of like a tight neck, stiff shoulders. Especially if you're in the boat of and I always kind of do the same thing, I always stretch them the same way. If that seems to help some, or maybe not as much as it used to, hopefully a few really useful exercises for you. So before we jump into those, I just want to mention that I've run into a few people over the last week who have mentioned that they've seen one or two of these videos, but didn't know that there were others that they had wanted to check out. So a really easy way to stay on top of this, as many of you probably know, is just to subscribe to the Dynamic Alignment Bodywork YouTube channel, and I'm sure there's a link or a button, somewhere right near where you're watching this. So we'll get into the exercises, and as always, I would recommend that if this is something you're going to do, that you actually do, meaning clear out whatever other browsers or activities you're doing and consider this a little vacation time. We're not very well set up to multitask anyway as a species, it seems like, and especially for stuff like this, where what we're going to be doing is less about doing 10 reps of something and more about really feeling into the internal sense of what's happening while we do one rep. And that kind of work can have really significant impact into your daily life, and that's certainly the point of this. So, again, a lot of us have kind of chronic neck and shoulder pain, and that can come from a ton of different things, right? From our diet, especially if you have any sort of food allergies that you don't know about, to what we think of as more musculoskeletal issues, to kind of trigger pointy stuff if you've been working out in a certain way, and blah blah blah. The list goes on. Not blah 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 because it's not important, but because it's a huge list. So what I'd like to offer up today are a few exercises that are maybe a little bit different than what a lot of us do. And what a lot of us do a lot of the time is rub it out, right? And that's why it feels really good to get a massage. And sort of stretch, push away and get more opening where we want opening. That can have its place. And in my experience, when we do something a lot, I guess not just in my experience, right? But when we do something a lot, we'll set up connective tissue, and the nerves are in there, and the veins and arteries. We have certain pathways where if we're doing the same thing all the time, we end up stretching along those pathways, which in the case of a lot of shoulder and neck stuff, we want that less. We don't actually want the tissue longer per se. What we want are things to be free and moving and gliding again, right? We want shoulders that are sitting well on top of your body, and a neck and head, and a good relationship to that. So we'll do a few exercises that'll be different than just the lengthening. So step 1, we'll do 3. So here's 1. And this isn't even an exercise, this is just something that you try at your desk. So however you're sitting right now, find a different way to sit. And that's it. For a lot of us, here's what I'd suggest is, you're seated at your chair or whatever space, scoot a couple inches forward and come more towards the front of your sits bones. Those pelvic bones, your ischium, right? So those points that you're sitting on, come a little bit more to the front of those. That's it. While you're doing any of these, one last thing I should say is that a really important piece of this will be to pay attention to what, if any of this, kind of feels good or better or different to you. So for some people, sitting in a different position might be like, oh man, gosh, that really helps my low back or my shoulders, or something feel better immediately. For other people, that might be less what we think of as like the core issue. So 1 is find a different seating position, and feel free, by all means, to keep changing that throughout the day. Finding the perfect position is sort of overrated, in my opinion. It'll keep changing. 2 is we're going to start to, instead of lengthening away, we're going to start to shrug up. So again, whatever you're doing, you can let your arms rest at your sides. and start to pull your shoulders up towards your ears as you breathe really deeply. That's an important part. So I'm lifting up here, and notice I'm not going, right? I'm lifting up and squeezing in. You can do this for 30 seconds or so, and as you get a feel for it, you can start to get more subtle, where it's not only your shoulders raising up, but you can think about your humerus, this arm bone, right, coming into your scapula, your shoulder blade. Where those meet, you're sort of snugging that space up. So you can even get to the point where there's not much perceptible movement happening, but if you think, again, all the nerve tissue, all the fascial tissue, soft tissue there, and muscles, if you're kind of slacking those up. So I'm just pulling in a little bit, like almost unweighting my shoulder girdle. Again, overtly, it looks like this. But even before I start to pull up, I'm like lightening the load. And then really important, as always, is take a few deep breaths into this. Right, and that breathing is not only the sort of mechanical unwinding from the inside out, it's very much a physiological, great thing to do anytime, really, right? But especially in a new position, it really helps to reset your body into this new position. So that's another one you can try. Again, noticing after you let it go, like, okay, do I feel a little different, way different, worse, better? Tuning in with that, and especially if it feels like there's potential for you, that's something you can keep playing with for the next few minutes, and I suggest it. And give that a go for like a week. Third thing we'll try is a external rotation of the arm. So we're getting into that arm bone to shoulder blade, humerus to scapula relationship, and gonna move through a little rotation in that relationship. So I can pin my elbow at my side. Again, beware the tendency to kind of start to change my trunk, right? I have relatively just upright and stable here. My arm comes to my side. I'm rotating out. You can start to add pressure by pushing a little bit with your own arm. Again, I'm not doing a deep, big stretch as much as think about kind of waking up this relationship of the arm bone into the shoulder blade. I can reach around if I want a little bit more leverage. Okay, I'm kind of cranking out with my elbow here. This looks sort of like eagle if you've done yoga, right? But a little bit different variation on that, where I'm going for the rotation of this arm. Again, full breaths and watching for the tendency to crumple here. I'm staying up, and if anything, kind of pulling my arms into their sockets. Third option for that, if you have, this is a PVC pipe, I have a few of these here in my office, I'll do the other arm, reach around this way, so I'm laying flat, however you want to set up, and I'm externally rotating here. Again, that same thing where I don't want to pull myself over, but I'm just staying up, cranking into it a little bit to open up this rotational capacity for external rotation of the arm in relationship to your shoulder. So I'll open up here. Again, do one side and then the other. Spend maybe 30 seconds or a minute on each, and then notice if you feel sort of a big change or some sort of promise, that can be something cool, promising, and hopefully really beneficial to work into your workday for a little bit, to make a break to do all of those, so the seated, changing your seated position, and then the slacking of this tissue and the rotation of the arms, to do one or both of those for a few minutes, a couple times a day. And try it on as an experiment for a week if you felt any sort of promise with those two. Super easy in terms of minimal timing, and potentially, again, there's really big benefits of waking up that area. So that's it. And I'll see you next week. Again, I do this every week, so if you like these videos, you're welcome to subscribe. You can subscribe to a newsletter on my website, which is below, but dynamicalignmentbodywork.com, and if you're on Facebook and you like this, you should like it. So that's it. Be well.